Good afternoon, everybody. Come on in and we'll let people get logged in here and we'll be starting shortly. Good afternoon and welcome. Very glad to have you along with us today. And it's Thursday, everybody. Woohoo, we're almost there. Again, good afternoon, everybody who is just joining us. We are going to let people get logged in here and we will begin shortly. Again, welcome and glad to have you with us today. As we are letting people in here, if you would, in your control panel, if you can hear me okay today, would you just give me a quick hand raise? Just want to make sure that we've got a good connection and everybody can hear okay. Awesome. Awesome. See lots of hands going up. So thank you. You can, as in the classroom, you can put your hands down now. And as a reminder, everybody is muted today, but if you open your Q&A box, that's where you can put your questions in and we will monitor those as we go along today. So again, open your Q&A box and you can put your questions in there. Hope everybody's having a good week. Already September. Just a little over 3 months till Christmas already. Okay, I've got 2:03. So once again, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Tom Hay. I'm going to be moderating the webinar today. I just wanted to turn my video on and say hi and kind of welcome you all as you are coming into the room. And again, glad to have you along with us today. And now that I've said hi, I'm going to go ahead and take my video off just to save a little bandwidth here. But we're glad to have you with us today. And this is just kind of a courtesy training on how your entities can utilize DIR for your information technology products and services. And one of the reasons we're doing this webinar today is that right now the governor's office is hosting a series of events called the Governor Small Business Summits. And what they do is they go around the state of Texas to different cities and they speak with vendors on how to do business with the state of Texas in general. And DIR attends those with the governor's office from the technology standpoint, because we are the technology agency for the state. We get a lot of questions from vendors about how do I get a state contract? How do I get on, a DIR contract? So this morning, our hub outreach and training team is actually in Weatherford participating in that conference. And then in the afternoon, we kind of like to gather our customers around that region and just kind of do a courtesy training for DIR. So our attendees today are pretty much in and around the Weatherford and Fort Worth areas. And we've also got a couple of folks maybe from the Houston area on with us today because we did one over there last year. And our audience today are typically procurement staff, business managers, purchasers, and also information technology staff, because it's you guys who use DIR. It's you guys who are involved in information technology with your entities. So we've got local governments, we've got school districts, we've got higher ed on with us today, and other eligible entities who buy through DIR's vendor contracts and also use our other services and programs. So that's why we're doing this webinar today. This may be a review for some of you. It may be new information for some of you. But anyway, glad to have you along with us today. So let's just go ahead and get started. So as an agency, DIR is responsible for many things when it comes to information technology and how we serve you, our customers, and the state of Texas. We've got our IT procurement and contracting division. That includes our cooperative contracts program, where you can go buy directly through our vendors for things like hardware and software and technology services that you may need. We've also got our shared technology services program here at DIR, and that's where we do it for you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that program today and the offerings that are available for your entities. We also handle a lot of data management for the state of Texas, as well as for you, our customers, and that includes the Open Data Portal, and that's the official state repository of publicly available electronic data, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today. We also handle the texas.gov portal, which allows all of us to do business with the state when we need to. So if you've ever renewed your auto registration online or bought a hunting or fishing license, you've done business with the state through that texas.gov portal. We also provide technology leadership, including doing things like setting IT standards for the state of Texas. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that role as well. We also offer communications technology services or telecom services that you, our customers, can take advantage of through our contract offerings. And then, of course, keeping the state safe. Cybersecurity is a large responsibility of what makes DIR as an agency busy. So large responsibility in just making sure that the bad actors are kept out. This is a little bit of my background. Again, my name's Tom Hay. I've been with the state of Texas for 15 years. 13 of those years actually this week at DIR. I started my state career at TRS. There's an agency that many of you are familiar with. And I do a lot of outreach and training to both our customer and our vendor communities on how to use DIR as well as how to get a DIR contract. And I've had the opportunity in my career here to do many different things at DIR. I've done vendor management, I've managed cooperative contracts, and I've also managed shared technology services contracts, including that texas.gov contract. So previously, before I came to the state, I was in the private sector, and our company, the company I worked for, actually had a buy board contract. So for years, I did buy board quotes for our customers all the time. And now that I'm at DIR, I see things from the procurement and contracting side of co-op purchases. So kind of been nice to bring those two sides together. And also on from DIR today is Patty Robbins. Patty is part of our Hub Outreach and Training team. Patty, do you want to say hi?
Good morning, or actually, good afternoon, everybody.
So Patty is part of our Hub and Outreach and Training team, and she spends a lot of time doing Hub events as well as talking with vendors about how to do business with DIR as well. So again, glad to have you with us today. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about some statutes for procurement methods and how those apply to IT. I'm going to give you a little DIR background, and then we'll talk about our program areas, our shared technology services, our co-op contracts. I'm going to give you a demo on how to search the DIR website. I'm going to talk about some statement of work tips, as well as managing IT contracts with our cooperative contracts program. We'll talk briefly about hub opportunities and how you can utilize those. We'll talk about cybersecurity training requirements, and then we'll wrap up and leave you with some resources. And again, if you do have questions as we go along today, feel free to open up your Q&A box and pop those questions in there, and we'll definitely take time to get those answered. So a couple of statutes for procurement methods that we just want to make you aware of is that DIR, as a state agency, we use the request for offer method to procure AIS, or Automated Information Systems, and information technology services. Similar, very similar to an RFP, but RFOs are typically used for more larger or complex type procurements of course, which IT is part of that world. So all of our DIR contracts are competitively bid, and our contracts are awarded in accordance with statute as set forth by the legislature. That then allows you, our customers, to use our cooperative contracts by going directly to our DIR vendors, and you issue that PO directly to the vendor, making sure that that DIR contract number is referenced on your purchase order. So when you do business with our cooperative contract vendors, you order directly from them. You don't issue the PO to DIR, you issue it to the vendor. And then the vendor reports to us what they're selling on their contracts. And then we do follow Texas Government Codes 2157.068 for information technology products and services, and also Code 2170 for telecom services. And you can also reference the State Procurement and Contract Management Guide for any additional information on procurement methods used by the state of Texas. So if you could take DIR and kind of split it into four basic categories, this is kind of what the pie chart would look like. First of all, again, we are a state agency and we're relatively young. We were created in 1989 through a legislative act. Because if you remember 1989, that's kind of when technology started changing our lives on how we lived and how we did business and how we operated in the business world. So through a legislative act, that's how DIR came into existence. And our main purpose is to serve as the Chief Information Office for the state of Texas. We've got our cooperative contracts program here at DIR, and this is kind of the do-it-yourself or the self-service model of IT procurements, where you, our customers, can go directly to our vendors and buy things like hardware, software. There are services contracts available, including deliverables-based IT services, as well as IT staffing services contracts. And then it also gives us the opportunity from time to time to initiate what we call short-term bulk purchasing opportunities, where when we know that certain IT products or services are in very high demand from you, our customers, we're going to take that information into consideration and attempt to negotiate what we call short-term bulk purchasing opportunities, where those products and services are going to be offered at yet deeper discounts compared to the regular contracted discount. So, for example, let's say that Parks and Wildlife needs to order 3,000 new computers. And we also know that Tarrant County needs to order 3,000 new computers. We're going to take that information back to our computer vendors and attempt to negotiate a short-term bulk purchasing opportunity where those products and services are going to be offered at yet deeper discounts. Could be for 3 months, could be for 6 months, whatever we negotiate with those vendors. They're kind of what we call our Kmart blue light specials because they're only available for shorter amounts of time. So you gotta get while the getting's good if it's on a bulk purchasing opportunity. The neat thing about those bulk purchases is that they're available to all of our eligible customers to use, and you can buy one item or you can buy 1,000 items if it's on a bulk purchasing opportunity. There's no max or mins. I've got a slide coming up and I'll show you what we've currently got available. We also do communications for the state as well. First of all, we manage the Capitol Complex telephone system for agencies in and around the Capitol here in Austin, as well as the Capitol building itself. We also provide internet and network security operations, making sure that those networks are kept safe. And then again, security operations is a large responsibility for DIR. We need to make sure that those bad actors are kept out of the state's and our customers' databases. Then we've got our shared technology services division, and this is where we do it for you. So it is required that agreements be on file with DIR to use these services, but we've negotiated contracts with vendors for things like data center services. This is also where the texas.gov portal resides at DIR. And again, that allows us to all do business with the state. This also includes the open data portal as well as managed security services. And I'm going to go in a little more detail in this in just a minute. And then, of course, policy and planning. We do that IT strategic plan for the state of Texas. What is that for the next year? What about 3 years, 5 years down the road during that more long-term strategic plan? We also provide IT standards for the state of Texas, as well as be resources to you, our customers, and helping you set IT standards. And then, of course, the legislature always wants to know what's going on with technology. So we're always busy reporting on the state of technology to leadership as well. So who are DIR's eligible customers? Well, Texas state agencies and institutions of higher ed, there's about 183 eligible entities in the state of Texas. Local governments, there's over 6,200 eligible entities, cities, counties, school districts, junior colleges, special purpose districts, political subdivisions. Also, there's other eligible organizations that are allowed to buy through DIR's co-op contracts. That includes assistance organizations as they are defined by the Comptroller's Office. Also, entities like ERCOT, LCRA, private schools and charter schools, private higher ed, volunteer fire departments, public safety entities like 911 centers, hospitals. Boy, we all know the medical industry carries a high degree of IT about it anymore. And then we've also got a large number of public entities located outside of Texas who, when they have an interstate cooperation contract on file with us, they are also eligible to buy through our cooperative contracts for their IT products and services. That includes out-of-state state agencies, public higher ed, local governments, and school districts located outside of Texas. So let's go into our first program area that I want to talk about today. This is our Shared Technology Services program area at DIR. And again, if any of your entities are interested in using this program, it's open to you. It is required that agreements be on file with DIR between us and you in order to use these services. But this is a program area where we do it for you. It's as easy as logging into a portal. You tell us the service you need, and then we go get that service done for you on your behalf. This kind of shows you how our shared technology services program is modeled here at DIR. We negotiated a contract with a multi-sourcing services integrator, or an MSI, and that vendor is Capgemini. And Capgemini kind of acts as the overall program manager of our shared technology services, as well as the vendors and the specific services that those vendors offer to you, our customers. So Capgemini kind of handles the marketplace and the business and operations and customer relationship management functions, making sure the program is running smoothly. Then the specific offerings available for customers to use include things like data center services. That includes private cloud, public cloud. If you're using mainframes in your IT worlds, there are technology solution services as well as print mail services. And then, of course, security operations, making sure that those data center services are kept safe, is also part of our data center services. This is also the program area where the Texas.gov portal lies. And again, that portal allows all of us to do business with the state, to renew our car registrations or buy licenses, things like that. We also offer managed security services to you, our customers, through this program. And then it also includes the Open Data Portal, which is the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. That allows you to post electronic data out on that portal, thereby making it available to the general public. So let's go a little bit deeper into our data center services offerings. Again, Capgemini kind of acting as the overall program manager. SIAC is the vendor who holds the state contract for just making sure that those data centers are kept safe. So keeping those bad actors out. So they offer things like privileged access for those who need access, security policies and standards. They're actively doing threat identifications, as well as security incident and event management. Again, just making sure that the state's data centers, and if you're using those state data centers, that they are kept safe. Deloitte has a contract available for things like technology planning services, solution consulting, project delivery services, if you're using data center services through this agreement. Deloitte also has a contract available for things in the data center for things like application development, maintenance, and support. Legacy modernization services. If there are apps that are outdated and need to be brought into more modern standards, that service is available. And then staff augmentation services through the data center offerings are also available through Deloitte's agreement. Private cloud services, that vendor is Atos, offering private cloud storage for things like, for example, we know that the storage for body cameras is unbelievably huge. It just takes up a lot of area, a lot of storage on servers. And some customers don't have that storage capability. So this is where private cloud services can be an option for you, because it offers things like disaster recovery services, backup as a service for IT. So all offered in a private cloud environment. A public cloud manager, those services are provided by Rackspace. They offer Amazon Web Services, Azure, Google, Oracle services. Other things include, other managed cloud services. Email through Office 365 is available through this offering, as well as geographic information system services. Mainframe services, that vendor is Atos. Pretty self-explanatory. They provide support services to all of our customers who are utilizing mainframes in their IT worlds. Not everybody has completely migrated to the cloud, so some customers still use mainframes, and Atos provides mainframe support services. And then print mail services, that vendor is Xerox. They offer services like managed print mail, bulk mailing services, digitization and document management systems. So that kind of gives you an overview of the types of data center services that DIR offers through our program that you guys can take advantage of. The Texas.gov portal. So again, that portal allows all of us to do business with the state. It's where we can buy licenses, or we can renew our auto registration. So there are basically two vendors who make Texas.gov run. One of them is Deloitte. So they handle things like the constituent payment portal, the Texas by Texas digital assistant, which is a mobile sign-on your phone where you can do many things on the Texas.gov portal. They also provide identity solutions for customers who need access. They handle the statewide internet portal, as well as the marketing and advertising for Texas.gov. So if you've been on Texas.gov to renew your auto registration, and I do that all the time, as you're clicking through those services you need, that part is all handled by Deloitte. The portal, the services, the apps, making sure they're running. But when you go to enter your credit card information to buy those services you just bought, that part's all handled by Tyler Technologies. There will be a new vendor coming on board in the next few months for this program, but they handle then payment processing services through the Texas.gov portal. They make sure that those payments are compliant and that they are then routed to the appropriate accounting system through the comptroller's office. Tyler Technologies and the Texas.gov payment services also offer services for, like, if a local government needs to put a payment portal out on that portal to allow customers to pay bills through. Those types of payment services are available through this portal as well. And then we offer managed security services to you, our customers, through our shared technology services program as well. The vendor providing those is AT&T. And so they're offering things like security monitoring and device management. That means, checking intrusion detection, malware detection, managing firewalls. Also things like incident responses, doing things like, digital forensics and response preparedness in the event of attacks. Also, compliance and risk assessments are available. Things like vulnerability assessments, risk assessments, web assessments. You might remember back in August of 2019, there were 23 counties in the state hit with ransomware, and it locked down their systems. Through this agreement, we were able to step in and help those counties get that ransomware removed. So we always encourage our customers to have this agreement on file with us just in case you need it. You're never charged for any services unless you actually need the service. But in the event of a security attack or a cyber attack, that minutes, hours, and days count. They count in the event of an attack. So if this agreement's on file with us, we can typically have boots on the ground in a matter of hours, helping you get that ransomware removed. And incidentally, there are several school districts in the state using this program because they receive some grant money for cybersecurity assessments. The Texas.gov open data portal, the open data portal is data.texas.gov. This is the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. What that means is, depending on your entity type, if you're a local gov or a school district or higher ed or even state agencies, there are many different areas where you can post electronic data out on this portal, thereby making it available to the general public. Now, these are typically larger data sets, things like tax records, Um, DIR, we post our cooperative contract sales data out on the business and economy section from FY10 all the way up to the current date. So almost 14 years of co-op sales history is out on the open data portal. The nice thing about this is that we manage this data for you, so you don't have to manage it on your own servers or on your own systems. When the Department of Agriculture started posting electronic data out here, they let us know that their public information requests dropped by 60% because that data is now available to the general public. So it's a good tool, and I'm going to give you a quick demo on this. In your PDF version of the slides that I sent to everybody, by the way, this link is live. So I'm going to try to do a little a demo for you on that today as well. So you also have links to the DIR YouTube channel for little videos explaining our shared technology services program and how you can utilize those. You can watch those at your leisure. And I've also given you the main link to the DIR YouTube channel. There's other program areas and other videos out there that you might find of interest as well, like how to write an IT statement of work and other videos that are available. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about our cooperative contracts program. And this might be the area of DIR where most of you might already be familiar with us. This is where you go directly to our DIR vendors and you can buy things like hardware items, different brands of software. There's also technology training contracts available. Other technology services like web development and cybersecurity services. We also offer information technology staffing contracts through this program as well. We've got our deliverables-based IT services. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those. And then this is also where the bulk purchasing program lies at DIR. This is connected directly to our cooperative contracts program. I'm not going to talk about it today because the statement of work review and the exemption reviews only apply to state agencies. And we don't have any state agencies on with us today. So that area that does not apply to you that are attending today. So why use DIR's cooperative contracts for your IT procurements? Well, first of all, they create savings because we leverage that state buying power to negotiate the best discounts and prices that we can from the vendors who propose products and services to us under our advertised request for offers. So we're always containing best value in our negotiations. What's in the best value of our customers and the best value of the state of Texas. And then it does give us that bulk purchasing initiative from time to time that allows us to offer deeper discounts on certain IT products and services that everybody can then take advantage of to buy through those bulk purchasing programs. It also streamlines the purchasing process for you, our customers, because we've already done a lot of that heavy lifting for you. We've done the RFO, we've negotiated the master contracts and put those documents in place for you. So that reduces any purchasing and contract cycle time, as well as any duplicate efforts, because now you don't have to do that solicitation. It also gives you, our customers, access to do business with our hub vendors. We've got a large number of both prime contract holders as well as resellers who are hub certified. There's also benefits for the DIR vendors. Again, it's on them to report to us once a month what they're selling on their DIR contracts, who they sold it to, at what price they sold it at, what discount, if they utilized any resellers or subcontractors. So our vendors report to us, and it simplifies that process for them as well. It also gives our vendors access to do business with public entities like state agencies, local governments, higher ed, school districts, and other eligible entities. And last year in FY23, which the state fiscal year is September 1 through August 31st, our cooperative contracts program generated over $3.39 billion in sales. That's a lot of dough, you guys. So this chart here kind of gives you a breakdown of what that spending looked like in FY23. You'll see that state agencies made up about 28% of that spending. Now, keep in mind that by statute, state agencies like TxDOT, DPS, the comptroller, Parks and Wildlife, those types of state agencies are required to use DIR's cooperative contracts first for their IT procurements. But you can see here that local govs and school districts made up about 55% of that spending, 58% actually. Now, part of that is just because there's more local governments and school districts in Texas than there are state agencies. So some of it's kind of a numbers thing too. Higher ed made up about 15% of that spending in FY23. And then our assistance orgs and our out-of-state customers made up about 3% of that. And of that 3.39 billion in spending last year, almost 400 million was created in savings to you, our customers, and to the state of Texas by buying through our cooperative contracts for your IT procurements. The other really cool thing is that of that 3.39 billion, about 37% was spent with our hub vendors. That's awesome, you guys. Thanks for doing business with our hub vendor community. We really appreciate that. We are strong supporters of the hub program through the Texas Comptroller's Office. So what types of commodities are available through our cooperative contracts program? Well, all kinds of computers, desktops, laptops, tablets, the Microsoft Surface series from Dell, HP, Lenovo. Hundreds of different brands of software and software as a service doing any number of functions. Things like networking equipment, printers and copiers, law enforcement type products like surveillance cameras, security products, body cameras, drones, things like data storage equipment, accessibility products, projectors, video conferencing. We've got a certain set of contracts for the classroom learning environments. It's hardware and software focused on classroom environments. Disaster recovery products. And we've also recently started awarding artificial intelligence products and services contracts as well. This is not an all-encompassing list, but it does give you kind of a good high-level overview of the types of products or commodities that are available through our cooperative contracts. There are also services contracts available for a wide variety of different IT services. That includes IT staffing services, technology-based training services, seat management contracts, things like cybersecurity services, web development if you need to redo or upgrade your websites, cabling services. Let's see, other things available. There's other telecom products and services available, things like video and web conferencing. Also, interpreter services are available through the phone, through the video, and I believe some now offer in-person interpreter services as well. We've got IT staffing contracts available. So if you might have an IT need at your entity and you don't have somebody on staff to do that work for you, you can use our IT staffing contracts that offer a wide variety of different job categories where you can bring IT contractors in to do that information technology related work for you. So this kind of shows you some of the job categories that are available through our IT staffing contracts. Incidentally, we are currently refreshing this set of contracts and are replacing the expiring staffing contracts right now. So if you use our staffing contracts, you're seeing new contracts being awarded. But again, this kind of shows you some of the job categories that are available. There are also specialist areas available. So if you need like a digital media person or a drone operator, those types of specialist areas are also available through our IT staffing contracts. And we've got services contracts available. These are available for things like application development, maintenance, support. If you have data migration needs or data analytics or data warehousing or maybe IT assessments and planning services. These are services-based contracts that work from a statement of work because these are project-based contracts rather than product-based contracts. So you can't procure software or hardware through our DBITS contracts simply because these are service-based contracts for a wide variety of different services that your entity may need. So again, these are project-based and work from a statement of work. We've got a large number of vendors who hold a DBITS contract with DIR, and some of them offer all of these services. Some of them offer some of these services, but you can see on the DIR website what vendors offer which categories that you may need for any service work that you may need done. And again, just to show you, I've talked about our bulk purchasing agreements and what we've currently got in place. These offer deeper discounts as compared to the regular contracted discount. So, for example, let's say a Dell laptop is currently 25% off of MSRP on the Dell contract. If it's on a bulk purchasing initiative, and right now it is, that Dell laptop might be offered at 40% off of the discount, but it's only going to be for a short amount of time. So these are our short-term deeper discount agreements that we put in place with vendors. So right now we've got good deals going with HP and Dell for both computers, notebooks, and peripherals. So if y'all need to buy computers, right now is a pretty good time to do it. We've also got Adobe software on bulk purchasing right now as well. I've given you the link to the DIR website where you can go out and see what we've always got available on bulk purchases, and then you'll also see the contract documents as well as the pricing schedules for things that we've got available through bulk purchase right now. And this can change. So we also, invite you to bookmark this link and just check it from time to time to see what we got available on bulk purchasing. And again, you can order one item or you can order 2,000 items if it's available on a bulk purchase. And you don't have to be a state agency. This is open to all of our eligible DIR customers. We also offer telecom services through our contract offerings as well. And we do that in 3 ways. Again, we manage the Capitol Complex telephone system, which is for agencies in and around the Capitol and the Capitol building itself. We've also got our TXAN contracts, or our Texas Agency Network contracts. Those offer you, our customers, things like voice services, including local and long distance services, as well as data offerings. And that includes internet services that you can buy through those contracts as well. There are also other telecom services that are available through our TXAN contracts, and that includes things like cell phones, smartphones, data plans, conferencing services that are part of a telecom solution, and that includes things like webcasting, video conferencing. And then there's other managed services that are available as well, things like the IT infrastructure for call centers or contact center services. E911 services or support services are available through our telecom contracts. Things like phone management systems for the PBXs that sit on our desks when we're in the office. So a wide variety of other telecom services are also available through our TXAN contracts as well. So when you do use DIR's cooperative contracts, when you pull up that vendor contract page, and you look at the contract documents for that vendor that you're using, you're going to notice common elements to that DIR vendor contract page. One of those will be the contract document itself. That includes also any exceptions that were negotiated with that vendor at the time that that contract was negotiated and awarded. You will see the Appendix A standard terms and conditions that are specific to that DIR vendor contract. Your Appendix B will be the hub subcontracting plan that is again specific to that DIR vendor contract. And that's going to tell you 2 things. A, it will tell you if the vendor is self-performing under the scope of their DIR contract. In other words, they're doing it all. They're providing the product and any supporting services. Or 2, it will tell you if that vendor is utilizing any resellers or subcontractors under the scope of their DIR contract. So keep in mind that vendors can update that hub form at any point during the term of their DIR contract. They can add or remove resellers or subcontractors at any point. So it's important to have the most current HSP form in your contract file. Your Appendix C will be a pricing index for a commodity-based contract. That's going to show you the brands available and the discount percent off of those brands or services. Or if it's a services-based contract, that Appendix C will be a statement of work template. So it's going to depend on the scope of the contract you're using, whether you'll see a pricing index or a statement of work template. You will also see any other appendices attached as they are needed. You might see service agreements, or you might see lease agreements if those are available. I know a lot of our printer copier contracts have lease agreements attached to them. You might also see a statement of work template, maybe for the service portion of a commodity-based contract. So you will also see the attached request for offer, which is what DIR used to publish for vendor responses, and what that vendor contract was then eventually negotiated and awarded under. You will also see any amendments attached that have been processed for that DIR vendor. So feel free to use that vendor contract page to download all your documents that you'll need for your procurement or your contract files. A couple of things to remember about our DIR cooperative contracts is that there is survivability built into our DIR contracts, which means that you can issue a PO to any of our vendors prior to that DIR contract expiring with us, and survivability is going to allow it to play out in full, even if that vendor contract expires with DIR. As long as you get your PO issued before the contract expires, you're good. So let's say you've got a 1-year initial term and 3 one-year renewal options to issue to a DIR co-op vendor. But you see on the DIR website that that contract expires with us on February 1st and there are no renewal options remaining. It's okay. As long as you get your PO issued to that vendor before the contract expires with us, survivability is going to allow it to play out in full. Now, that vendor still needs to keep reporting to us under their expired contract until all of their orders are filled with you, our customers. So we might be over here on the backside trying to negotiate a replacement contract with that vendor, but things could be different under that replacement contract. It could have different pricing or different terms and conditions. Or the other possibility is maybe that vendor might not get a replacement contract because sometimes negotiations can break down. So just keep in mind that there is survivability built into our cooperative contracts that allow your orders to play out even if the contract expires with us. Also, be aware of any areas where vendors are seeking to vary from the DIR terms and conditions. We have already negotiated the terms and conditions with the vendors. They had their chance to take exceptions when we negotiated the contracts. However, keep in mind that you, our customers, can negotiate additional terms and conditions with our vendors, provided they don't conflict with or diminish DIR's contract terms. So if you've got CJIS requirements or HIPAA requirements, or you need additional acceptance criteria, it's okay to negotiate those things because we've already negotiated the T's and C's with the vendors. If you need to negotiate additional T's and C's with our vendors, you're in the driver's seat on that. Just keep in mind that they can't diminish or conflict with DIR's terms and conditions. Also, be aware of any areas where vendors, our contract documents have priority over almost all vendor documents. Now, note there are some exceptions for things like third-party licensing agreements. Sometimes you need to sign those to buy the products that you're needing. Or maybe it's just an order acknowledgement form that you're being asked to sign. But if you're seeing that the vendor is varying from our terms and conditions, or you're being asked to sign something by a vendor and you're not sure if you should sign it or not, feel free to reach out to the DIR contract manager for that vendor contract, or reach out to us. We can help answer those questions for you. Vendors should have routed all of those documents to us. They can add documents to their contracts, but it takes time to do that. It's got to go through approvals and routings and signatures. So just keep in mind that if you're being asked to sign something and you're not sure if you should sign it, just reach out to us and we can help you answer those questions. Okay, I'm about halfway through and I've got 2:45. So let's take a 10-minute break here. Get up, stretch, do whatever you need to do, and let's take 10 minutes. We'll come back at 2:55. The second half seems to go a little bit quicker and it's a little more interactive and fun. So just come back at 2:55 and we'll wrap it up. Okay, hopefully you're all back. Any questions before we continue on? I don't see any in the Q&A box. If you do have anything, go ahead and pop it in there and we'll take time to get those answered. But seeing none, why don't we go ahead and continue on here? Okay, so instead of talking through the slides on the website, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pop over here. And you should be able to see my DIR homepage right now on the website. So we redesigned the website a couple years ago now. Actually, it was 2021, and we tried to make it a little more search friendly. If you saw the previous DIR website, it was a bit cumbersome and wasn't really easy to navigate. So we tried to make the new website a little bit more navigatable, and we put this ribbon here on every single DIR web page. So I want to start out by saying that in order to use our co-op contracts, you don't need to have a sign-in on the DIR website or anything like that. This sign-in box is typically for vendors and for state agencies when they need to file documents with us. But you are our local govs and school districts and higher ed, you don't need a sign-on to use the DIR website. So we kind of categorize things to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And if you want to look at IT solutions and services, there are different categories you can click on here. If you're looking for, our DBITS contracts or our hardware contracts, if you click on the hardware contracts link right here, you can scroll down to the bottom of this page and see our categories of hardware products. Let's say you're looking, you want to look at see what vendors have a law enforcement related contract with us. You can click on that little drop down, get kind of a description of the types of products and services that are available. Then if you scroll to the bottom of that category, if you click on this link right here, you'll be able to see a list of vendors who hold a law enforcement type contract with DIR. So you can do, I can show you another quick tip here. You can always do that with our software contracts as well. If you scroll down, you'll see the different categories of software contracts that we have. Let's say you're looking for cybersecurity products and services. You can click on that RFO number and look at the contracts that were awarded to vendors under that published RFO. If you're looking for services contracts, and this is just a little tip here, if you want to look at technology services, you can find that services link right here. So if you click on that, it's going to show you kind of the same thing, the categories of technology services. If you're looking for, research and advisory subscription services, you can do the same thing and click on that RFO number to pull up a list of vendors. You can also come up here and click on, certain program areas. If you're looking for co-op contracts or shared technology services, or if you're a data officer or security officer, you can click on links that are available there as well. We also offer policy and guidance if you want to see accessibility standards, or if you're looking for information security or legislative things. You can also click on the I am a dropdown. And if you're a college or university or a school district or a local gov, you'll be taken to pages that will pertain to the type of entity that you're on. And of course, we've got the ever popular search DIR function, and I use this multiple times a day. When I click on search, I search for vendors, I search for contracts, and you guys kind of do the same thing. I don't typically use all pages and content because it always returns too many results. I'm typically looking for contracts and vendors. So I'm going to run through just a quick example here. You can type in keywords or vendor names or brands or search criteria, whatever you want. In my example, I want to look for contracts associated with Microsoft. So I'm going to type in Microsoft. I'm going to click search. And again, I don't want all results here. I'm looking typically for contracts that are associated with my search criteria. So I'm going to click on contracts here, and voila, this kind of narrows down my search down from 125 to 32. That's a little bit more manageable. And you'll see here a list of contracts that are associated with our search criteria of Microsoft. You can further down select if you want to look for accessibility products, or you're looking for, components, or maybe these are the different types of categories that we've got available, and you can scroll down and look through those. You can also further down select by brands here. So if you click on select, you can scroll down and see all the different brands that we've got available on DIR contracts as well. You can also further down select by hub types if you want, certain hubs or non-hubs, or if you're looking for certain commodity codes that are associated with your search criteria, you can further down select by those as well. But in my example here, I want to look for all contracts that are associated with the word Microsoft. So in my search criteria, I typed in Microsoft. I want to make sure I'm on contract and vendor results, and I'm clicked on contracts under this little radio button here. You can also download the search results of these 32 contracts by clicking on download results. Give that just a second to work. And then I'm going to click here to download the file that I just selected, or just area in. And what that's going to do, it's going to pull up a spreadsheet of your search criteria, and it's going to show you the vendor name, the contract number. It's going to give you a brief overview here. I don't typically pull this out because it's a really big column. It also shows you who the DIR contract manager is, the contract term end date. This is just the current term end date. It's not the full expiration date because there may be renewal options available yet. And it shows you if that vendor is a hub or a non-hub and what their hub status is. It gives you vendor contact information, email addresses, phone numbers. Now, you'll see here that on the search criteria, Microsoft Corporation 4471 is listed multiple times. That's because over here in column K, there are resellers associated with that Microsoft contract. So you're going to want to reach out to the resellers that are associated with Microsoft to get any pricing. The ones that are listed only once down here in this area, you don't have any resellers associated with them. So keep that in mind as if you see multiple contracts listed, is that there are likely resellers associated with them. And then it also gives you that reseller information, whether they're a hub or a non-hub reseller, and then contact information for the resellers as well. So use that spreadsheet to kind of help filter down your search criteria. You can pull email addresses off of this. There's phone contact information. So hopefully that spreadsheet is a little bit of help to you. But going back to my example, I'm not going to save this. Let's say I'm looking for the Microsoft Surface Pro series and I need to buy some computers. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here because back in the day I used to manage this contract. I know I'm going to look at this one. This one offers education IT, and aha, the Microsoft Surface products are available here. You can click on that vendor contract page, click on that contract link. It shows you the contract start date and the current term end date and the full expiration date. So looks like this one's going to be expiring fully on March 9th of 2025. We've probably got the RFO in place to get a replacement contract in place. You can see information about the vendor right here. You've got vendor contact information, and you've also got a DIR contract. So James here at DIR manages this contract. That kind of gives you an overview of the offerings. It shows you what is offered under the scope of this contract right here, the products and services available. You can also look at the commodity codes that are associated with this procurement that we did. You can see the brands available for any DIR vendor contract. If you're using Carahsoft or SHI, you're going to see many brands available here. You can also see the contract documents, and this is the slide that I showed earlier where the contract, the terms and conditions, the hub plan, the pricing index, the RFO, and all the amendments are attached here as well. You can also pull reseller information off of this page as well. So you can see all the resellers that are associated with the Microsoft Surface contract. You will also see here that each DIR contract has a specific vendor website associated with it. So if you click on that vendor website link, this is going to take you to a page that is specific to this DIR contract. And one of the neat things you should be able to do here is if you want to see the price list, I'm going to click on that right here. I'm going to open that. And voila. Here is the price list that is associated with that DIR vendor contract. You've got they've got a specific education pricing tab down here as well, but you'll see the part numbers, the MSRP, the percent discount off, and then the DIR price. So that's where you can find pricing information.
Hey, Tom, we have a question in the chat asking
Yes,
where to find the contract name.
the contract name is typically this right here, Microsoft Corporation. And when you say contract name, we name our contracts by vendor name, and then we assign them a contract number when we award that contract to them. So that's the contract name is typically the vendor name of a DIR contract. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure. I can also, so that's how you can find, your contract documents and pricing. Just another quick example, let's say I want to look for contracts associated with the word Adobe. I'm going to search that. I want to make sure I'm on contract and vendor results. I'm on contracts. And what I'm going to do here is down here to brands, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find Adobe, and I'm going to give it just a second to work. And here are 6 contracts associated with the term Adobe. And let's say, for example, I want to look at journeyed.com. I want to see what their contract offers. I'm going to click on that contract link. Again, here's information for the vendor. This is the vendor contact information and the DIR contact person. I want to come down here and maybe I want to see the brands that are associated with this contract. So journeyed.com Incorporated offers Adobe, Nuance, and interesting, they're also a reseller for Microsoft on the Surface Pro. Let's see if there's any resellers. Yes, there is a reseller on this contract as well. But if I want to come back up here and look at their contract offerings, I'm going to click on that vendor website link. And this page here is specific to that DIR vendor contract. And I want to look at their offerings and discounts. So I can see that they offer Adobe at 5%, Nuance at 8%, and their Microsoft Surface series at 16%. And I want to look and see what their Adobe price list is. So I'm going to click on that link. I'm going to open up their price sheet. And voila, here is their Adobe price list of all the Adobe products that they offer. You can see product information, notes about it. Here's their list price, and here is their DIR price with the discount and the admin fee included. So those are some search tips and tricks on how you can find pricing and contact information for any one of our DIR vendors. Again, back over here, if you want to look under categories, or you can search by many different types of things, that's kind of some quick tips on how to search the DIR website. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you also is that I was going to show you the open data portal. So I'm going to type in the address of data.texas.gov. And I'll show you how to search for your entity's information on the open data portal. And again, this is open data. I'm not showing you anything that's confidential or that is not open to the public. Keep in mind that this is a big website. So Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get things to go where you need it to go. But we post our cooperative contract sales data under the business and economy section. So I'm going to click on that. And that link is right here in the middle. This is the official DIR cooperative contract sales data from FY10, and this was updated on August 12th. So it's about a month old now. But I'm going to click on this link right here. And I've got some options. What I want to view is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on data up here in the upper left-hand corner. And what this is going to show me is the entities who have spent money through DIR's cooperative contracts way back to 2010. But maybe, maybe I want to do some sorting of this data and I want to look for different entities. You can come over here under actions. And if you click that little drop down, you can query data. So I'm going to query this data. Aha. Now, here's where I can search for different types of information. You can see here that we, as a state agency, we have to buy through our vendor contracts for IT things. But you can see here the schools and the other state agencies and local govs who have used DIR way back to 2010. The neat thing is you can come down here and you can filter through some of this data. So I'm just going to walk through a couple of quick examples. Let's say I want to look for customer name, and that would be your entity name. And I want to look at things that contain, and who can I plug in here? I'm just going to type in the word Springtown. And I'm going to hit enter because I want that field to be white right here and not shaded out. So I want to look for entities with the customer name of Springtown, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to apply that filter. So it's going to run and do its thing, and you can see here that way back to 2010, Springtown ISD did business with Apple, Dell, HP. The city of Springtown spent some money with Dell through this old contract. Again, this data goes back to 2010. But you can type in your entity name here and kind of get a history of what your spending was. I can come down here, and if I want to do the same thing, I'm going to type in the word LiPAN. Let's go LiPAN, and I'm going to hit enter. Music to run queries by. Should have piped some music in. Aha. So again, going back to 2010, you can see that LiPAN ISD has spent some money with Apple and Dell. Epson America maybe bought some miscellaneous information technology through this contract. And this, this is more recent now. This is 2017, 2019. You can also come down here and add a filter if you want to look at fiscal year. And that fiscal year is, I'm just going to type in 2021, hit enter, and apply that filter. So I can see, here that LiPAN ISD in 2021 was spending money with this vendor. It also shows you the purchase amount, but I'm going to level here. This is not a full PO amount because you might have one PO and invoice against it many different times. So these are itemized invoice amounts in this purchase amount column. Okay. It just kind of gives you an idea, and there's other data in here too. It shows you the RFO name, it shows you the customer type, and then some customer contact information. So this is where you can, kind of filter through some things if I want to take that filter off. I'm going to type in, who else can I, Keller, look at Keller. And I want to see their spending from, and again, this is probably going to pull in, yep, Keller ISD, City of Keller, and there's 206 pages here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can filter through this data and find your entity spending So that's just kind of a helpful tool to go out and see what other customers are spending through DIR, maybe what vendors they've used. CDW offers a lot of hardware and software, and City of Keller spent some money with CDW through our DIR contract back in 2010. But you can add other filters in here as well. So, and if you want to I'll just do one other quick one. Let's see what Johnson County has. And I'm going to come down here and apply that filter. So this pulled in a couple of different entities. You've got Johnson County, you've got the Johnson County Appraisal District. And if you want to add another filter and select fiscal year, and again, the state fiscal year is September 1 through August 31st. And I just want to type in 2022. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to apply that filter. So there you go. You can see that entities in Johnson County have spent, the last few years through several different DIR vendors. And again, these are not PO amounts; these are itemized invoice amounts, because you might be invoicing, many times against a PO. So anyway, that's just kind of a quick example on how you can use the Open Data Portal to find your entity spending. Okay. Let me go back over here. So we worked through all of these slides. I'm going to just forward through here. I've shown you how to down select. So let's talk a little bit briefly about writing an IT statement of work. There are certain scopes of DIR contracts that do require a statement of work. And those contract scopes include our DBITS contracts, or deliverables-based IT services, our seat management or end user IT outsourcing services. Those are for things like help desk services, asset management services, things like that. Also, our IT security services contracts, our cloud services contracts when you execute a statement of work, comprehensive web development, document imaging and enterprise content management. And also, if you're doing a project and you're customizing and integrating, and it's overall kind of one of those, frustrating or maybe high stress projects, may be worth writing a statement of work to put some definition to your project as well. So just keep in mind that there are certain scopes of contracts that you will see a statement of work template because they are a services-based contract and are project-based. These are typically the scopes of contracts where you will see a statement of work. Also, just a reminder, under TAP Code 212, state agencies have to get those approved by DIR if it's over $50,000 in value. That rule does not apply to our local governments, school districts, higher ed, or our other eligible DIR customers. So we just make that disclaimer that state agencies have to get those approved by DIR. Our other customers do not have to get those approved by DIR. There are templates available for you to utilize, and you will see those attached to each DIR contract. There are both waterfall and agile methodologies available. I'll talk a little more about those in just a couple of minutes. So when you do write a statement of work for maybe an IT related project, it's important that you define the need. Why are we doing this project? What are we trying to accomplish with this? And also assess the project approach. Make it a project rather than just a task. Typically, an IT type related project is just that, a project. It's going to involve many different types of functions. So make a project of it. And then you're going to need to develop those statement of work elements that are going to be necessary to manage the contract to get your project done and get the results that you need. And getting that right scope involves, getting stakeholder engagement. You're going to have many different people involved, probably procurement, legal, your IT team, maybe security representatives. So it's important to get all of that stakeholder engagement when you're doing an IT related project, because building that team then helps build that business document. And that's going to describe how you're going to execute, analyze, and manage that project throughout the term of your agreement. It's important to put in SMART goals. In other words, make them specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Just a couple of quick examples. A SMART goal is to grow online registration by 5% by fiscal year end. Bam, it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable. A vague goal would be maximize potential of agency website. Yeah, it's a goal, it sure is, but it's not really specific or a measurable one. Just like the second one, a SMART goal is to reduce licensure wait time to less than 2 minutes by the end of June. Boom, measurable and specific. And another one, to double our capacity to deliver to benefit and disbursements by November 1st. So those are examples of SMART goals. Make them measurable, achievable, and realistic. When you're developing a statement of work, a couple of key questions to ask are, is this going to be agile or waterfall? I'll talk about those in a minute. Who needs to be on the team to make this project succeed? Who do we need to have involved? And who's going to be, what are the roles and responsibilities of those people going to be? What risks do we need to identify in order to have mitigation plans in place for those risks? And then how are we going to measure the success of this project? So when it comes to methodologies, there are a couple of different things that you can look at. A waterfall methodology works well with projects that have assured predictability. It's very structured, a very known outcome. You know what the outcome needs to be. Agile type projects are a little more flexible and open that require things like, software design or developing software. So you keep those methodologies in mind as you write a statement of work. You might use a combination of both, or WAGILE, which incorporates both waterfall and WAGILE into writing a statement of work. It's important to consider certain elements that need to be considered when you're writing that statement of work. And that includes things like putting a scope of the project in. What are we trying to accomplish with this project? What do we need to do? If we're building a database, what does this database need to do? What are the roles and responsibilities of everybody who's going to be involved in this project? What are the deliverables going to be? Are they reports? Are they products? What's the period of performance or the schedule? Make sure that that's spelled out. Do you need to consider any service levels, or do you have the acceptance criteria all worked out? Also making sure that pricing and payment schedules and those milestones are spelled out. Also, what about any assumptions? Don't assume that something's going to get done if it's not written in a statement of work. Make sure that you account for those assumptions, or you have plans in place to deal with those assumptions if something should change, or maybe you have missed something when you're putting definitions to your project. Other things to consider: do you have to meet security standards? Do you need to include those? Do you have to meet accessibility compliance? All of us here today work in some form of government or another, so it's important to have our websites accessible for hearing and sight impaired customers. Put an introduction and background to the statement of work. For example, we need to do this project because our old system would not allow us to accomplish what we need to accomplish, and this is what it wouldn't let us do. Also, you're going to have evaluation and response submission requirements for vendors if they're going to be proposing to you. Are there any additional terms and conditions that you need to consider included in your statement of work? If you are transitioning vendors, if you're going to transition a current vendor out and bring a new one in, you have a transition plan in place. Also, other considerations: who's going to host data? Are you going to host it? Is it going to be hosted in a data center? Do you have a disaster recovery plan in case a storm comes through, or a fire, you don't want to lose your data? Are you going to award to a single vendor, or you're going to maybe have multiple vendors doing this project? And also just making sure that the vendors meet eligibility requirements and that they are qualified to do the work that you need done. I've given you some links on the DIR website. There's a statement of work page. There's our deliverables-based IT services page. There's accessibility standards, there are security standards, and legacy modernization strategies. So those are all tools that are available that you can reference if you do need to write an IT statement of work. If you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to DIR. We do have a statement of work team and can be a good resource for you as if you do have questions or things to consider as you write a statement of work. Okay, so when you do use a DIR cooperative contract, we're going to talk through some quick tips about managing that vendor contract through our cooperative contracts program, because it's you, the purchasing entity, that is responsible for managing the aspects of that vendor contract when you do use our co-op contracts, making sure that the vendor is compliant with the requirements and they know that what their role should be. Also reviewing schedules and milestones, making sure that those are spelled out and vendors are aware where you need to be. You then manage any vendor performance with that DIR vendor when you are doing business with our vendors. And also make sure that the vendor staff may have needed to take any required cybersecurity training. We're going to talk about that training here in just a minute, but I always like to include that because sometimes there are instances where vendors may have access to sensitive data. So after that contract is awarded, the focus turns to managing that contract and things like the defined scope. We just talked about writing a scope a minute ago. Make sure that that scope is defined and everybody knows what you're trying to accomplish with this project. Is it the defined acceptance criteria, and is it at an agreed to price? Have all of those details been worked out? Are the specified milestones spelled out? Does everybody know where we need to be throughout the term of this contract? And then, like I said, for more agile type procurements or contracts, you're going to have many stakeholders involved that might be part of the planning process, all the way up to user acceptance and testing of that project. It's important to have a kickoff meeting, just making sure that everybody understands what the goals and expected results of the project are. Reviewing performance requirements. Does everybody know what's expected of them? What are the roles and responsibilities of all the parties involved? It's important to clarify escalation processes, and part of that is making sure you have an escalation process in place in case something does need to escalate. If you start seeing vendor issues early, it's better to address those early before they mushroom into something that becomes a little more, tougher to manage. And then, of course, reviewing the schedule is important at that kickoff meeting as well, making sure everybody knows where we need to be. It's also important to review deliverables. What about status reports? Are those spelled out when they should be submitted, and are they being submitted? I'd mentioned earlier, have a disaster recovery plan in place. You don't want to lose data in the event of a disaster. Testing things like user acceptance testing. Is this doing what we need it to do? We talked about accessibility testing. Make sure that any of those requirements have been met or any waivers need to be signed. Also checking that acceptance criteria, make sure you monitor that for compliance. Even if you're taking delivery on computers, make sure that they're not broken or they haven't gotten wet, or if it's a service that you're performing, making sure that you're getting the service that you need. Identifying risk areas. That's always part of procurement and contracts, making sure we identify those areas of risk. We're human beings. We can't possibly identify 100% of every risk that could go wrong, but we have to do our due diligence. And then identifying any outstanding items you may have missed. Part of that is just knowing the difference between a risk and an issue. A risk is something that could happen. An issue is a risk that has happened. For example, a risk could be we could have a cybersecurity attack. An issue is, oh no, we've had a cybersecurity attack. Now what do we do? So having mitigation plans in place for each one of those identified risks is important. And then, of course, communication on those risks is equally as important with all parties involved. Making sure you're checking quality, measuring that against the acceptance criteria. Are you getting the quality you need? Identifying any items that are not in compliance and having a plan to bring those items into compliance. So don't just accept items that don't meet the requirements and the quality that you expect, whether that's a product or a service or both. Checking budget. Are you tracking deliverables to milestones for payment points? Are invoices being submitted timely, and are they correct when they are being submitted? Making sure you're doing that compliance check. Part of just knowing what you're paying for and ensuring that you're getting it. And of course, well, who needs a change order? We all know things that go 100% as planned, on project, on schedule, right? Yeah, So knowing when change orders are needed and having plans in place to process and address those change orders. So there are hub opportunities available on DIR's cooperative contracts. As I mentioned earlier, each contract has a specific hub subcontracting plan. It's important that you have the most recent copy in your file because again, vendors can change those at any point during the term of their contracts. If you do have a hub coordinator, typically state agencies and higher ed have hub coordinators. Make sure that your hub coordinator gets involved because they need to seek clarification on that hub subcontracting plan about any dollar amounts or percentages that may be utilized. Vendors are required to submit a progress assessment report to you and to DIR. It's important that your hub coordinator gets a copy of that PAR report because higher ed and state agencies are required to report their hub spending to the comptroller twice a year. Also remember that any subcontractors not on the hub subcontracting plan do need to be added before they can be utilized. And then our contracts do have hub goals. We follow the state comptroller's goals. So for our contracts for other services, that goal is 26%. And for commodity items, it's 21.1%. And if you ever have questions about the hub program or the hub subcontracting plan, feel free to reach out to our hub office. And again, Patty is on here today. She's a great resource for any hub questions that you may have. Again, the hub plan is always Appendix B on any DIR cooperative contract. If you don't see it listed there, just reach out to us. We can help track that form down for you. Maybe it's a new contract or it hasn't been uploaded yet, or maybe there's one being updated and it just hasn't been uploaded yet. So just reach out to us. We can track that hub form down for you. There is wording in the DIR terms and conditions, which is the Appendix A, that vendors should be aware of that they do need to follow certain reporting requirements to all of our customers. Whether you're higher ed or a state agency or a local gov, they should be submitting that PAR report to you. That typically comes at invoice time. So vendors are required to provide a monthly PAR report to you. And if you do get a PAR report and you're seeing that the vendor is using a subcontractor that is not on the approved hub subcontracting plan, it's important to stop work with that vendor. Stop work, stop payments, because that vendor is not compliant under the scope of their DIR contract. So that vendor needs to reach out to us at DIR to bring their hub form into compliance before any work can then continue. And again, here's our contacts for our hub program: Lynn, Teresa, Victor, Brianna, and Patty, all more than willing to answer any hub questions you may have about our contracts. Okay, a couple of quick things about cybersecurity training, and this affects all of us who work in state and local governments. So it is Texas Government Code 2054.519 that is the state cybersecurity training program. That required DIR to work in consultation with the Texas Cybersecurity Council, and we had to certify at least 5 cybersecurity training programs. We've got many more than that in place, but we had to have 5. And this applies to all of us who work in state and local government, institutions of higher ed, school districts to a certain degree, and also any state contractors. And the key point here is to remember that any contractors that have access to state computer systems or databases are required to complete a certified cybersecurity training program. So keep that in mind if you're bringing contractors in and they access state computer systems or databases, they do have to take training and give those results to you. And you can find additional information on the cybersecurity training on the DIR website. There are tons of cybersecurity resources available to state and local governments and higher ed. So you can access the DIR website. I've provided some links to, there's grant money available that is being worked through by DIR and the Office of the Governor. You can check out the link on the DIR website to learn a little bit more about that grant program for cybersecurity. We've also got our Texas Information Sharing and Analysis Organization, and that's a forum for state agencies, local governments, higher ed, both public and private, and the private sector, just to share information and best practices on cybersecurity. We've also got our CERT, which is an on-site and remote incident response assistance for state and local governments who may be experiencing a cybersecurity incident. And I've given you the number here. And then we've got volunteer programs available too across the state of Texas that provide public entities, incident response assistance. And you can find more information on the DIR website with that link. And you can also contact our security team directly if you have cybersecurity questions. We have partnered with a couple of institutions of higher education to establish regional security operations centers. This is to help secure local governments and entities, local government entities from cyber threats. We've partnered with Angelo State University. That was our first regional security operations center, and we're working to bring one online with UT Austin and also UT Rio Grande Valley. And you can find more information about those on the DIR website. There's information for law enforcement officers if they need, if they need to investigate a cybersecurity crime, or, there's information available to law enforcement on how to do that. We've got our cybersecurity certificate program that recognizes public and private entities that implement best practices for cybersecurity. And then there's also guides to help local government entities, establish cybersecurity working groups for learning and mutual references. And again, you can access all this information on the DIR website. Okay, we do have some higher ed on with us today, so I need to talk about TexRAMP briefly. Couple of legislative sessions ago, Texas Senate Bill 475 defined a need for a Texas Risk and Authorization Management Program, or TexRAMP. And what this bill basically says is, if you're a state agency, an institution of higher ed, or a junior college, and you use cloud services, you are required to use TexRAMP certified cloud services. If you're not one of those entities, if you're a local gov, city, county, or another entity, and you want to use TexRAMP certified cloud services, you can do that, but you're not required to. There is information on the DIR website that talks about the program, and also you can see the list of currently approved TexRAMP certified cloud services products and services. We are constantly updating that list when we certify products and services. So again, it's basically, the bill says if you're a state agency, higher ed, or junior college, and you use cloud services, you're required to use TexRAMP certified cloud services. You can see the associated TAC codes as they apply to both state agencies and higher ed. And if you just have questions about TexRAMP in general, you can reach out to our TexRAMP team. We're more than willing to answer any questions for you. Also, if you're higher ed and you need the TexRAMP clause, it is Appendix 24 in the Texas Procurement and Contract Management Guide that provides you with that clause when dealing with vendors. Now, I will tell you that if a vendor has certified products or services with us through TexRAMP, it's not a requirement that they be offered through a DIR contract. So you will see TexRAMP certified products and services that would not be available through a DIR contract. Some of them may be available through a DIR contract when you're out there searching for brands, but keep that in mind that it's not a requirement to have that brand available through a DIR contract and be TexRAMP certified. Okay, gonna wrap it up and leave you with some DIR resources. So when it comes to IT procurements, you've got choices with DIR. You can use our cooperative contracts program and do it yourself. You can go buy the hardware, software, debit services, staffing services, or you can use the bulk purchasing opportunities if things are available. Or If the services are available, you can look at our shared technology services. That's the data center, the texas.gov portal, the open data portal, and security services. Remember that all of our contracts are competitively bid and are awarded in accordance with statute as set forth by the legislature. For cooperative contracts, you do not need to have an agreement on file with DIR. I know some of you are members of the Texas Smart Buy, but it's not a requirement that like a local gov, like a city or a county, you might be a member of the Texas Smart Buy, but you're also automatically a DIR eligible customer. So you don't have to be a member of the Smart Buy if you're a local gov to do business with DIR. Also, you don't need to have an agreement in place with us to do business if you're an eligible in-state customer. You then order directly from our vendors under our co-op contracts, and you manage that master agreement with that DIR vendor. But if you want to use our shared technology services, you do need to have an agreement in place with us, but it's as easy as getting those agreements in place. You sign the agreement, you agree to the terms and conditions of each program that you want to use, and then you place your order via the DIR order portal. Easy for me to say, not. It's as easy as logging into the portal, you tell us the service you need, and we go get that service done for you. There is information for vendors on the DIR website. And I know a lot of you talk to technology vendors and you ask them, do you have a DIR contract? And they say, no. How do I get one? You can do one of two things. You can refer them directly to us, and we are more than happy to talk with them about how to get a DIR contract, or they can access the selling through DIR function on the DIR website. That's where vendors can learn how to become a prime contract holder. They can learn how to do business with DIR as a prime or as a reseller or a subcontractor under an existing DIR prime contract holder. And when they click on that doing business with DIR, that's where they can read about how to become a prime vendor, how to become a reseller for a prime, or how to become a subcontractor for a prime.
Hey, Tom, we got a
Yeah.
question in the Q&A.
Okay.
So it says, we've noticed multiple contracts with auto renewals. Are all contracts set up this way now?
So we try to do an auto renewal when we can. Most of the contracts, I believe now, are we're trying to work those auto renewals through that way. But I will also caution you that not all of them have that function. So it's going to depend on the complexity and the analysis or the compliance checks that we do as if we can do an auto renewal or not. But yes, you are correct in that we're trying to do auto renewals because they're quicker. We still have to do all the compliance checks to do the renewal. Don't get that wrong. We have to do that by statute. And that if we don't do those, that's an audit finding. So, but yes, we are trying to do more auto renewals, but it's going to depend on the compliance checks on if we can do an auto renewal or not.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you and our vendor community can see our schedule of solicitation opportunities. By the way, we update that every September. So now that we're in a new fiscal year, we're going to be updating our schedule of solicitation opportunities with the RFOs that we plan to do in FY25. You'll see what we have in the planning stage. Then it moves to the pre-solicitation phase. Then it moves to the posting phase. And when it's posted, that's when it's out for vendor responses and it's posted to the ESBD, the Electronic State Business Daily as well. You can also see what's currently closed. We're no longer taking vendor responses for things that we are evaluating and negotiating. So vendors have access to that link on the DIR website. So they can see our procurement schedule and find things that maybe they're interested in proposing to DIR under. Use the DIR website. There's all kinds of FAQs out there. We host webinars from time to time. There's statement of work templates. There's FAQs on different topics, whether it's legislative driven or technology driven. Use the open data portal. I gave you a quick demo on that. Go out and see who's buying what through what vendors on DIR. Use your DIR contract manager. Each of our contracts has a DIR contact person for you. Um, Reach out to us. We're more than willing to answer any contract questions we may have. There's also, sourcing resources available, and you can sign up for a number of different things on the DIR website. Some things are procurement related, some things are contract related, and you can find those signups if you go to the home page, dir.texas.gov, and then you scroll to the bottom of that home page. You'll find 4 blue boxes. One of them says sign up for communications. And once you click on that sign up for communications, you'll be taken to a list of many different things that you can sign up for. We've taken down the IT sourcing newsletter temporarily because we're redoing it. So give us a chance to get that redone before we probably repost that. You can sign up for that one. But there are different things that you can sign up for on DIR as well to stay connected with us. And with that, it is 3:45. And does anybody else have any questions before we wrap up today? I certainly hope you found this helpful. Again, it was probably a review for some of you, but it may have been new information for a lot of you as well. Um, if you do have any questions after we're done today, feel free to reach out to any one of us here at DIR. Lisa, Lynn, they're both our chief and deputy chief procurement officers. Teresa's our hub director. I've been around the agency for a long time and I know some stuff, so I can get you headed in the right direction. Patty is on as from our hub team. She's a great hub resource. And Clarissa is our contracts management office director. So we're more than happy to help you with any of your DIR related questions, or if you can't find something on a contract, or if you're looking for things, you're having trouble with the website, we can help answer those questions for you. So, okay. Yes. If you'd like, I can make a recording of this and upload it to the DIR YouTube channel. Thank you. Okay, once again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it helpful. And have a great evening and a great Friday and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all.